A very good morning to you all. Today is 23rd June 2020. Today in this video we'll be discussing the 4 articles of the Hindu editorial page. The first article is regarding a way out of undelineated borders, that is India, Nepal and India, China. Second article is regarding anti-racism fight by Lyndon B. Johnson option. The third article, states tackling of coronavirus, a vigilance paramount. Fourth article, an isolated terror attack in London. Before I begin, I am Prashant. I welcome you all to Education Stuff by Prashant Konala. If you are first to my channel, I request you to subscribe so that you cannot miss any updates. This is the cartoon of the day. As the crude oil prices are increasing day by day, we can only see the vehicles in the showrooms. First article, in anti-racism fight, Lyndon B. Johnson option. Police killing blacks at the slightest pretext, sometimes without pretext, is one of the social constant of the United States. When the police of Derek Chauvin choked George Floyd to death on May 25th in Minnesota, the usual analysts pointed to the usual suspect, namely racism. So what is new? Yes, we all know that the blacks are more likely to be shot than white people by the police. Numbers vary, but ProPublicans 2014 finding says that a shooting backs into 21 times higher, while a 2020 report in the New York Times points out that it is 7 times greater in Minnesota. These numbers are nagging and repetitive. George Floyd's brother, that is Philonise Floyd, thinks what is new is that people see it, white people too. Yet barely had George Floyd had cremated when another black person, Brooks, was killed by Atlanta police on June 12th. Perhaps the brother of David Floyd was impressed that the Minneapolis, Denver, Dallas, Houses and Texas, Washington D.C., Houston, California and New York elected mayors, citizens and even police officers want chokeholds banned or have got them banned. That still leaves out a very large area of concern. Banning chokeholds, but what about the gunshots? What about the random invasive probes? Thus far, these aspects are loosely worded by the police reformists in the terms of de-escalation of violent confrontations and a greater caution to be exercised in no-knock warrants. In the meantime, well-meaning that is white anti-racists are self-flagellating almost narcissistically. An influential video posting shows that a white activist saying in a confessional mode that all the whites are racist are pure and simple. The only way out of them is to admit, repent and self-demote. This is a variant of Martin Luther King's model, reason, prayer and goodwill hunting. LBJ, a man of action. Lyndon B. Johnson, an option, that is not LBJ of Vietnam War but a person who passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964. While King was a general goodwill hunter, the Lyndon B. Johnson take down his opponents one to one by Washington's Capitol Hill till he got the Civil Rights Act passed. While in the thick of it, the Lyndon B. Johnson was asked by well-wishers why he was risking so much, and his reply was, well, what's the hell of the president forever. In the end, the Civil Rights Bill was passed because Johnson would not give up. He changed the gears, pulled levers, headed loading jacks, and did whatever was needed to get to the bill through. US President Barack Obama radiated the hope that he would place further legal impediments that LBJ's style of police brutality, but in the end he chose that Mr. Martin Luther King to travel the road. When Reverend Clementa Pinckney was shot dead by a white supremacist in 2015, Mr. Obama performed what might be called the acme of goodwill hunting. He sang a song, Amazing Grace. That's it. He did not make laws and changed procedures that would give racist or boycotted police officers a black eye. Today, following the George Floyd killing, this time is ripe and ready for an LBJ-like intervention. Every aspect of the police training, recruitment, procedures, funding, and accountability needs to be transformed. If we were to take just the well-known inquiries into the police brutality since 1990, we find that out of 18 such incidents, only has the punishment been commensurate to the crime. In many of the 12 instances, there was no punishment at all. How it was in Europe? It is not as the people in Europe was not racist. The recent Syrian refugees crisis brought it out. Even so, police procedures is impressively more measured and controlled in that continent. This shows that the number of ways. In 2015 alone, German police fighting Islamophobes and fascists fired all over 4 fatal shots, while the American police killed 400 or across the channel. Take the British example, where its police force used firearms only 51 times between 2003 to 2013, or across the pond of Canada recorded only 12 fatal police shootings. Regarding in the Europe how it is controlled, a case for extensive change. In 2015 report that is in US Justice Department concluded that the alarming murder of violent incidents in which the police have been involved because the officers do not receive regular consistent training on the department's deadly force policy. In 2000, the United States Commission on Civil Rights, in the study entitled Revisiting Who is the Guardian of Guardians, advocated incentive diversity training. None of these recommendations had left behind the tight rocks on the ground in terms of actual action. Derek Chauvin has 18 past complaints against him. His fellow officer, that is Toh Thao, has 6 charged with Bernardo Taylor murder in March 2020, shot 7 times at the traffic violators in 2006. In 2005, George, the killer of teenage American African, that is Martin, has also faced multiple assault complaints. It's just a sample. Interestingly, Cosgrove also won 10 commendations earlier for the various achievements. Derek Chauvin is also a much awarded officer. This is not freak expectation. In the famous Rodney King case in 1991, the officer Stancy Coon, the ultimate Boston bruiser, was earlierly awarded Medal of Honor and more of them, hundreds of decorations. Grady Roffel, who was also recently under the scrutiny of June 12, 2020 killing of Rayshard Brooks, was awarded a silver pin through he had 11 serious allegations against him. The US President Donald Trump may have inadvertently come to the aid of anti-race activists and made room for LBJ mode of internal executive pressure. He widely publicized the tweet, "When the looting starts, shooting starts," and has read as an endorsement of police violence against those demonstrating George Floyd's killing. It is the rare thing when antipathy, that is of sitting president, partners anti-racist activism. This fortunate conjuncture of events may not happen again. In 1957, the earlier toothless Civil Rights Acts passed without much discussion, for the president Dwight D. Eisenhower was still regarded as a credible leader. India, which did not represent anti-rape sentiments as much as its frustrations with the United Progressive Alliance regime, when the movement was lost, rape returned to India. Activists in US, whether on the streets or in elected offices, should seize the opportunity and insist the only major police reforms by the executive action would be satisfactory. It is very unlikely that the colors will return to Mr. Trump election prospects in the near future. In the frame, goodwill hunting or self-flagnating trending videos can be a distraction. Regarding the anti-racism fight, the Lyndon B. Johnson's option. Another article, this is regarding the way out of undelineated border. India, Nepal and Indian Chinese white papers can help. in clearing the misapprehensions over the border. The Galwan face-off should focus minds on resolving, not the managing different perceptions of the northern border, relying first on Samadhan or Kautilya suggested. The root of misunderstanding between the India and Nepal lies in the treaty that is at the end of territorial war, to which no map was attached, and the negotiations had no idea of the geography of the area except that the devout Hindus on the way to Mansarovar considered the springs at Kalapani at the base of Lipulekh Pass the source of Kali river. Let's see the historical facts. The Treaty of Sugali, that is from 1815 to 1816, which ended in Anglo-Nepalese War, stipulated the Kali river would mark the Nepal's western border with the British East India Company. The demarcation under the W.J. Webb later in 1816 covered the entire Bayans region both to the east and west of the river on the grounds of it is traditionally been a part of Kumopan prior to the 25-year-old occupation by the Nepal. In 1817, Nepal made a representation to the Bihar claiming that it entitled to the areas of east of the river. The British Governor-General in Council accepted the demand and villages in Tinkur and Chagur were transferred to Nepal, dividing the Bayans area. The drainage of the Kalapani and Lipulekh was considered wholly within the British territory, and it was stated that the short way belonged to the spring that the Kali formed the boundary with Nepal. Nepal later extended a claim to Kuthi Valley, that is further to the west, stating that Kuthi Yangti stream, the western branch of the headwater, should be considered the main Kali river. The Himalayan Gazette records that the surveyor W.J. Webb made known as Bhamsha, the governor of Doti, who had negotiated the treaty. The lesser stream flowing from the Kalapani springs had always been recognized as the main branch of the Kali and had in fact given the name to the river. The British retained the Kuthi Valley and the Limfjandra Pass. The first British resident in Nepal, Edward Gardner, laid this out to the Nepal Darbar in the correspondence, that is on February 4, 1817 to October 10, 1817. The matter was considered settled as only the lowland lying between Kali and Gorakhpur that were the ceded in 1815 were resorted to Nepal by a treaty of 1860. To establish the boundary, initially the Deputy Commissioner of Almora would every year travel to Lipulekh Pass to open the trade. The northern boundary of Banyas was stated as a line of water parting between the India and Hindu in the settlement of Trail in 1828 and a baton in 1840 to 1841. The first settlement under the British government on the decade between 1863 to 1873 measured each cultivated field, reiterated this as a Himalayan gazetteer points out, as was used to input to local names in the new map prepared by the Survey of India, correcting earlier sketches. The British government did not shift the British East Camp boundary as Nepal alleges. Agreed Tri-Junction. In 1905, Charles A. Shearing, a Deputy Commissioner of Almora, recorded his travels across the Lipulekh into Tibet. He camped in Kalapani and noted its half-dozen springs in the Nepal boundary at the Tinkur Pass, trading through Lipulekh amounting around 26,000 euros annually at a tenfold in 1860 was regulated by the British. In 1954, trade agreement between India and China mentions that Lipulekh as one of the passes that could be also a trade for pilgrimage traffic. The China-Nepal Boundary Treaty, that is on October 5, 1961, its first article states that Chinese-Nepalese boundary line starts from the point where the water washed between the Kali River and Tinku River met the water washed between the tributaries of Mapachu, that is Karnali River on one hand and Tinka River on the other hand. The Chinese-Nepal Boundary Protocol on January 20, 1963 established between the permanent boundaries markers as a numbered 1 to 79 in a serial order from west to east. The first maker is a Sino-Nepal border in a Tinkur. The tri-junction, though not delineated, corresponds to the border claimed by India and shown on the British map in 1879, and its subsequent ones is about 5 km east-southeast in the Lipu Lake of 20 km from Limfjädra Pass. The international law claims that principle of international law support the British and India's claim. Borders are established through political agreements, a delimitation given a specific meaning to the verbal description and considered part of the negotiation and demarcation setting up the boundary marks. In case of Lipu Lake and Kalapani and now Limfjädra, the political agreement of 1817, that is a Treaty of Sugali, has been interpreted with references to the circumstances prevailing at the time of the treaty was concluded. In considering the general significance of the map evidences, the militarization of this is undelineated part of the border has made it imperative for India to respond early to Nepal's selective reference to certain maps of British East India Company, first raised in 1997 with a white paper and discussed giving a buoyancy in Nepal. All facilities and those villages are cut off from the rest of the Nepal. Equally important is the need for another white paper on Akasai Chin, where the border is not delineated. Resolution is a part of political negotiations, and overlapping patrolling points are grossly inadequate substitutes for boundary pillars. The civilization states should have rely on the power of persuasion to settle misapprehensions left over the colonialism based on the historical fact and the summit diplomacy regarding the way out of undelineated border of India-Nepal and India-China. The state's tackling of coronavirus on June 20, after a month of around 1 lakh cases recorded or reported, India crossed a grim milestone of 4 lakh cases. It took just 13 days, double to 2 lakh cases. India added another 1 lakh in just 10 days on June 12th. From the test of positivity rate of 4.6% in mid-May, it is 7.9% as of June 21, reflecting a wider spread in the community, particularly in the hotspots of Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Ahmedabad. Mortality, which was initially low, had been steadily increasing. The first death was reported on March 13 and a figure crossed around 1000 only on April 28. But it has just taken 3 days for each additional 1000 deaths after all the death toll touched 4000 and reached around 13,000 deaths as of June 21st. The lower mortality figures are the reflections of the low median age, nearly 27 years, of Indian population. The stage of this pandemic in India is health-seeking behavior and the healthcare system. While the low median age had helped keep the mortality low, high prevalence of high-risk factor even among the younger people might put them to greater risk if infected with virus. The healthcare system in Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai and Ahmedabad, already strained, could witness more deaths if the virus spreads unabated. With India's now the unlock phase, it is most vigilant. Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh have done exceptionally well in containment. If Kerala was fully geared even before the first case was reported, the other two states utilized every phase of lockdown to track, test, isolate of those infected and trace contacts. Nothing else can explain why Bengaluru had bucked the trend while Delhi, Mumbai and Chennai have become pandemic epicenter. Maharashtra had adopted the correct approach of enhanced testing, unmindful of a large number of cases getting reported each day. Aggressive testing enabled Maharashtra to achieve a remarkable feat of containment in Dharawai. In a stark contrast, till a few days ago, Delhi had used every trick in the textbook to keep cases and deaths low. The fact that cases are reported from Telangana, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar raises suspicion about their testing and counting. While many other states have reported migrant workers testing positive on arrival and it is inconceivable that Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal, which have recorded the most returners, should not see a spike. Though fewer clinics and testing of the positive influenza-like illness in certain areas of Chennai is having a high spread, Tamil Nadu is making up for a lost time. But the true containment will remain difficult, and the doors will be open to door-to-door surveillance and large scaling testing in these areas. Going by the cases reported, Gujarat seems that it be only the place where the virus spread to a definite number of people every fortnight, even when the tests are increased incrementally. The only way to contain number is not by hiding them. Regarding the states tackling the coronavirus, it should be a vigilance paramount. This article is an isolated terror attack in London. The knife attack at a park is reading a town west in London, which killed 3 people and injured 3 others, is yet another reminder of the threat of the lone wolves attack in UK is facing. Last November, the British government reduced that official threat level from the severe to substantial, which means attacks could happen, but there will not be no intelligence on immediate terror strike. Since then, the country has seen 3 major incidents. In November, Usman Khan, a 28-year-old who had been jailed for terror offences, killed 2 with a knife at the Fishmonger Hall, London. On February 10th, and 20-year-old was shot dead by the police when he launched a knife attack in South London. A 25-year-old Libyan national had been arrested in connection with the latest incident. British media have reported the Kharai Sadallah was of MI5 radar. He was investigated, and the intelligence community got a report that he was looking to travel abroad to link up with the terror outfits. The investigation closed for the lack of evidence, but was not in custody for reading attack, which has been declared a terror incident. Lone wolf attacks, in which the extremist individual translate their beliefs into violent actions, are hard to detect and prevent. In coordinated terror attacks, the challenges of the competent intelligence agencies detecting the preparators are much higher. To their credit, the UK's intelligence wings have foiled dozens of terror attacks since the devastating 2005 London bombings that killed 52 people and injured 700. But the UK, especially London, continued to see a low-tech lone attacks where the attackers either used vehicles or to run over the people or launched knife attacks. Terrorist organizations have also embraced this tactic to spread violence in the countries where coordinated big attacks are impossible. When the territories it controlled in Iraq and Syria shaking or shrinking in the wake of counterattacks in 2015 and 16, the Islamic State urged support first to launch attacks in western cities, then declare allegiance to Khalifa. 2017, Khalid Masood, a British citizen, drove a car into the pedestrians on the pavement of Westminster Bridge and stabbed a police officer. He also killed people and injured 40 other people for being shot by the police. The British authorities have foiled a smoke knife attack since 2013, killing the soldier Ali Ribgi in southeast London. The lone wolf attacks continue to pose a security challenge to the public and the government. In all the last 3 knife attacks, the attackers were known to the agencies. The government and security agencies need to adopt a multi-pronged approach towards radicalization, which is anchored in a human intelligence, strong ties with communities and community leaders, and de-radicalization programs. There is no sure way of preventing the isolated terror attacks that require a little planning. The lone wolf threat on an isolated terror attack, London. Thanks for joining me, but before I conclude, I request you all to subscribe to my channel. This is my Facebook page. I have also given my Instagram link so that you can visit my website and Instagram. Follow me. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.